Hignett corner, beyond Bent. Janssen! And Blackburn Rovers are 18 minutes away from a Premiership return.
As far as Stewart, just outside the penalty area, clips it central. For David Dunn! David Dunn equalises! It just had to be! Dax corner and it goes, glance towards goal! And Rovers have taken the lead! And Charlie Mulgrew has scored his 14th of the season. It may well be the goal that sends Rovers back into the Championship.
Hello Rovers fans and welcome to another live edition of On the Other Side with me, Ryan Hildred from roverschat, and this is our first live show of 2021. So it's a very happy new year to you all. I think we can agree that 2020 was not the greatest of years for us, so let's hope we can get to seeing a better 2021 before too long. It was a very frustrating 2-1 defeat for Rovers last time out away at Huddersfield Town as our poor form continues. But the games do come thick and fast, especially this season, and it's a visit to Birmingham City tomorrow. So I'm delighted to be joined by Blues fan James Jenkinson from the Birmingham Fan TV podcast. How are you doing, James? Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year to yourself as well, Ryan, and thanks very much for having me on. It's a pleasure to come and talk about... Well, I say a pleasure. It's not very pleasurable at the minute to come and talk about us, but I'll do my best to keep it upbeat.
Well, we can wallow in both of our poor form. I think it's certainly not a good time to be a Rovers fan at the moment. That's for sure. And we can do some group therapy, maybe. For sure. Alexander Haben, Happy New Year to you. You've stolen in there with the first comment, so there we go. Happy New Year, Alexander. Rovers fans, just as a reminder to you, if you're not following us on Twitter, we are Rovers_chat on Twitter. Please hit that subscribe button as well to keep up to date with all of our content. We'll keep pushing that out through the year and keep expanding what we do. But before we get started with James, just a reminder that we are sponsored by sixyardsout.com.
The Rovers Chat YouTube channel is proudly sponsored by sixyardsout.com. They've got retro football from every era with mugs, phone cases and much more. They also have plenty of Rovers goods, including apparel with the famous 94-95 season and this season's kit. Check them out using the link in the description below.
And thank you to 6 Yards Out, as ever, for their very, very kind sponsorship of the channel this season. And Rovers fans, please do interact with us this evening. Hopefully your heads aren't too sore and you're into football mode now. I know that I am after getting up very late today, but that's what New Year's is about, isn't it? So, James, let's kick off with the preview then, if we can. I want to start off the field first, if I can. I think in the rank order of crazy owners, your club has featured pretty highly over the years. However, I must say the last season or so, it's felt like the off-field stuff is at least contained. What is the current ownership like and where are you at? Am I completely wrong with that?
Yes and no. I think in terms of poorly ran clubs and ownership, and in terms of how badly a team's been beaten down by an ownership, you know, we would certainly be in that sort of, I would put us in the top 5 in the country over the last 10 years. You've only got to look at back when we were in the Premier League, you know, when we won the Carling Cup, 2011. Since then, you know, the previous regime with all the money laundering and that ownership went to pot, and, you know, we had to get the receivers in to prize the club away from the previous owners. They managed to get it sold on then to the current ownership, who frankly know nothing about running a football club. And obviously we had all the issues with Redknapp and all the financial fair play stuff, and that was an absolute disaster that we're still not recovered from, particularly 3 years down the line. And yeah, to say that it's stabilized in terms of the financial side of things, yeah, that's fair to say. You know, I know we were hit with a warning last season about the financial fair play rules again, but that was under a breach of a rule that was, you know, particularly silly. I think it was to do with the sale of Shea Adams. You know, we had bids in for him in the January a couple of seasons ago where it was only about 8 million, I think, from Burnley. And we decided obviously not to take that, and then ended up getting 16 million from Southampton in the summer. But we were still, charged because we didn't sell when the EFL wanted us to sell in the January, which didn't make any sense from our standpoint. We wanted to make as much money for the club as we could. So, we are being hit unfairly at times, but the owners aren't fit to run a football club, is how I would put it. They've tried, they've failed. They don't bring people in to help them. They don't bring footballing people in to help them. They simply consistently shoot themselves in the foot. When they try and take a step forward, they consistently then take 2 steps backwards. And there doesn't seem to be any signs of them improving, or, while things are getting quieter, let's say, we're not making as much noise in the press. Things aren't being, run any better. We're just simply sliding quietly down the league. And every year we seem to get closer to the trapdoor earlier on, and eventually, as Blackburn all well know from the last couple of years, you end up sliding through that trapdoor if things don't get sorted soon enough. So yeah, I would say it's not particularly great at the minute off the field.
And with what you've said there, from what I could see, there seemed to be some quite sensible decision-making going on in the summer. So you obviously sold Jude Bellingham for the money, and it seems like you reinvested that pretty well. A decent manager at this level in Aitor Karanka, then some good championship performers in the likes of Neil Etheridge and George Friend. We've spoken on our show quite a few times, actually, about a bit of a dilemma we've got with Adam Armstrong. And if he doesn't sign a new contract, do you then sell him to then regenerate that into the squad? Yeah. And I spoke to a Norwich fan a few weeks ago about success that they had with James Maddison. They sold him, reinvested it into the team, and they did get promoted. So was that the hope before you started this season, that you sell Bellingham, put it into the squad, and you should be higher than where you are now?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we all knew Bellingham was going to go from the minute he walked into the team last year at 16. He played his first couple of games. He ran the show. I think he played against Blackburn in that game at St Andrews in October last year, and he looked a very accomplished player at 16. He ran the show that night, and we ticked really well. And obviously, he's gone on to play Champions League this season for Borussia Dortmund. He's featured in the England first team, didn't he? I think it was a couple of months ago. Yeah. So we knew what he was going to fetch. We knew there was going to be interest. There was no way he was going to stay. So the hope, like you say, was that we generate enough money that we could then balance the books from anything that we had left over from, the financial fair play issues, which there was still, some overhanging, but it was, not going to be enough to wipe out the funds that Bellingham was going to bring in. And then, like you say, reinvest it into some sensible championship signings where we could bring in a couple of, not unproven, but maybe take a punt on a couple players where we think we could get a bargain here, which we've done in the past, and it's succeeded. And then bring in a couple of championship sort of experienced pros, like you say, with Etheridge, Friend, Clayton, those sorts of names that you just know are going to perform at this level and bring you some consistency. And it's just simply not worked. Nobody was under the illusion that playoffs or anything like that was in the offing this season, but we certainly wanted to build stable foundations and find ourselves in the top half of the table. Anything above 12th this season, or around that level was where we thought we were going to be, especially with the names and the faces that were brought in the summer. And for some reason, we can't put our finger on it as to why we still aren't. We're not clicking, we're not ticking. Nothing seems to be sticking. When we have a good run, we can go again. It's what I said about the ownership. It's 1 step forward and 2 steps back, and it keeps continuing in that vein across the club.
It's probably me that gave you the kiss of death, James, because I actually had Birmingham as my surprise package to make the top 6 this season. So I thought you did some great business in the summer, actually, with everything you did. So, apologies for that. But yeah, you're currently in 18th place, 6 points off the relegation zone and 14 points off the playoff spots. So is there that feeling of just gross underachievement then with where you currently find yourself?
Yeah, massively. I think we're a pretty level-headed fan base. Like I've said previously, we don't expect much, but what we did expect was, some consistency, some stability this season, and to just put in anything that was better than last season. The way we finished the season, we were in beyond free fall. We were dropping like a rock. And like you say, I think it's been more of a shock more than anything because, as you've said, I think a lot of teams were exactly the same as where you've sat on it. You know, they saw us as certainly underdogs for the playoffs, if not the top 10. Some really good business. You know, I still believe that a lot of the players we've brought in are very good, accomplished players, and some of the players that a lot of the people in the Championship won't have heard of. You know, we'll see that there's a lot of good players that we brought in from outside the Championship as well. And the manager, you know, Aitor is, you know, he's got one playoff defeat with Middlesbrough, then an automatic promotion with Middlesbrough. Then he had Forest pretty much in the playoffs when he left there. So, you know, his track record speaks for itself. He's someone you'd expect to bring a certain level of consistency, and he just hasn't. It just hasn't worked. And I'm struggling to put my finger on it. You know, usually there's an obvious elephant in the room, and there just isn't at the minute. And I think there's a lot of issues that still need sorting out. And I think that the uncertainty off the field still plays a big part of the club at the minute.
So let's talk a bit about Karanka then. Yeah, pretty good appointment at the time. I was pretty impressed when you did that. And he's a former colleague of Jose Mourinho, of course, renowned for that perhaps more pragmatic style of football. Is that what he's brought to Birmingham? Is that the way that you've been playing?
We did at the start of the season. I think we were unbeaten in our first 5. I think we had one of the best defensive records for the first 10 games or so. You know, really solid. Didn't concede a lot of goals at all. We weren't scoring a lot of goals. You know, very similar to when Mourinho walked in at Spurs. You know, he changed it and made it so, you know, the team was so structured that maybe they were a little bit too safe. The handbrake was certainly on, but they were hard to beat, and they were grinding results out. And we were grinding results out at the start of the season. You know, we drew away to Swansea, we drew away to Stoke, we beat Brentford at home. We were picking up some really tidy results. And then I think maybe we dropped some points in games against Wickham where we lost. We were winning and we threw that one away. And I think Barnsley at home again, we were winning that game and we threw it away. And things have just started to get a little bit tetchy. And I think players have almost we've chopped and changed formations a few many times, and that's down to the manager. We've chopped and changed personnel maybe a few too many times, and again that falls to the manager. But then too many individual errors have cost us dearly, and you know that's where we find ourselves today. You know, there's a combination of so many issues that have gone wrong. Is why we find ourselves where we are. It's not down to bad luck, I wouldn't say. It's down to, you know, many mistakes that have been made.
And with what you said about, you know, you just wanting some stability for the club, you know, this question I'm about to ask you is a really timely question in the Rovers fan base as well, because you'll see in the comments that we've had coming through, you know, there's a huge divide in the Rovers fan base now about Mowbray and where we're at as a club. With what you've said there about Karanka and the results, where is your fan base at, first and foremost, with Karanka? Do you stick with him and keep that stability, as you've said? And, you know, not just the fans, but if the results carry on the way that they are, can you see the owners getting twitchy and perhaps pulling the plug?
Twitchy and pulling the plug, I actually can't, because the illusion we're under as a fan base is that the CEO, the gentleman that's running the club currently, is Hwang Don-ren. If he fails this time, he's gone. If the manager fails, he's also gone, because this was his appointment. This was his choice of manager. He wanted Aitor in 3 years ago, before he went to Nottingham Forest. And when Redknapp left the club, he went and pursued Karanka and didn't manage to get him in. I think the deal was pulled at the last minute. He was due to come, didn't for various reasons. So he's a man that he's pursued, and I think he's told the board, look, this is the guy to take us forward. Trust me, let me go and get him. And obviously it's not worked. So I don't think they'll be in any rush to pull the trigger unless we certainly look odds to go down again. You know, they've stuck with managers like Gianfranco Zola until the 11th hour, Steve Cottrell till the 11th hour. You know, we were sitting pretty much rock bottom both times. And it was only then that they had to, you know, make the change. I can't see us making any rash changes so far. And I think a lot of the fan base are with Karanka at the minute. I still think a lot are with him. You know, they can see that he's frustrated. Some of his comments after the Derby game were incredibly bold and very courageous. You know, he come out and he's absolutely hammered the players after the game, rightly so. You know, a lot of the fan base have said, you know, these players have let numerous managers down. It can't just be the manager this time. So I think a lot of the fans want to stick with the manager, and I think looking at from an outsider's point of view at Rovers, obviously there was calls last season. I remember at the game at St Andrews where I think we beat you 2-1, I think, or 1-0. I can't remember. It was 1-0. There was a lot of calls for his head that night. I could hear it from the away fans, and I remember there was a lot of angry comments on Twitter. And I think what's proven is you've stuck with him, and he's certainly, in 12 months he's taken you, hell of a long way in that short amount of time. Through sheer consistency, through stability. Yeah, you are going through a bit of a rocky period, but I think the position you're in, I think it would be almost like where we sacked Rowett in 2016, and a lot of fans said, outsiders said, why did you do that? We had just been beaten 4-0 away at Newcastle, 3-0 at home to Barnsley. We were going through a bad patch, and whatever reason, the board decided to get rid of him, and it was probably the worst decision we ever made. So I think you could find yourselves in a very similar position. Obviously, if you don't make the playoffs this year, then I think come the end of the season, certainly it could be time to review it. Obviously, has he taken you as far as he can? But I think mid-season and the way you have played for large parts of the season, I think it would be incredibly harsh to move him on just yet.
I think so. And I think, I've made my views on the live streams that we do before and after the games as well. I think in a world that is completely uncertain at the moment, and the Football League, which is completely uncertain, why create a problem for yourself?
Exactly.
And I think you've summed up my thoughts pretty well there as well, James. So if we move on to the game then, there is nothing like a run-busting Blackburn Rovers to roll up at St Andrews, I can assure you. We are the kings of ending losing runs and people scoring their first goals and things like that. But, for Birmingham, correct me if I'm wrong, it's 4 home defeats on the spin, including the last 2 where they've shipped 4 goals, 4-0 and 4-1 losses to Derby and Middlesbrough. What is the current form like? Because I looked at your results. There were 2 great away wins in there at Reading and Bristol City. So is it just all a bit all over the shop at the moment?
Yeah, well, at the current moment, I think I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. I think it's like 4 defeats and 1 draw in the last 5. Really poor. We drew at Nottingham Forest on Boxing Day away, and that was a relatively good result. We looked comfortable, didn't look like losing that game. It's the home form, really, for me, is the real problem at the minute. I think we've only won 3 at St Andrews in 2020, which was really bad.
Wow.
We've had a really bad home form, being perfectly honest, since we lost Chris Hughton all the way back in 2012. We've had a terrible run of home results where I think we've played 196 home games and only won about 60 in about 9 years. So it's been really bad. And nobody can put the finger on it. We've had best part of 7 or 8 managers come in, and different styles, different ethoses around the club, different sets of players, and nothing seems to change the home form. So there's something deep and deep rooted and underlying that's a bigger issue. And if we could change that, you would see us definitely rise up the table, because our away form for the whole is pretty good. We beat Preston away this season. We beat Bristol City away. We beat Reading away, and we've got some really good, draws on the board as well, away from home at Stoke and Swansea and Forest. So if we could sort the home form out, I certainly think that's where our problems lie at the minute.
Now, this is a fixture that Rovers just do not like, James. And I knew it was bad, but when I started doing my research into it, I couldn't believe how bad it was, actually. We've only won once in 14 visits to St Andrews,
Really?
which is, quite remarkable.
Wow.
That was in 2014 when Gestead scored a hat-trick. I don't know if you remember that game.
Remember it very well.
Yeah, and we've had 9 losses in those 14 games as well at St Andrews. And then actually over the fixture as a whole, so home and away games, it's just 1 win in 10 for Rovers. That's 9 league games and the cup game last season. And it was just the 1 win that we had in 2016. We won 2-0. So with your recent form, your history against us, is this a fixture you're looking at and just saying, right, we've got to beat Blackburn at home and get back on track? This is a fixture we really like.
Yeah. I'll be honest. I looked at the Derby game and I was more interested in that one than Blackburn, because I think I was looking at it and I thought Derby, a team that certainly low on confidence originally, don't score a lot. I would have liked to have seen us had, play a tight game and maybe scrap out a 1-0 win and try and grind that result out, because I know Blackburn can come, and certainly if they're on their game, as we've seen many times this season, they really can, put you to the sword and put 3 or 4 up. They really can. Depends what Blackburn shows up, I guess, is the way I'm looking at this fixture now. I think if you carry on your current form, the way you've been, it's certainly a game that we need to try and capitalise on and really put an end to this run that we're in. And any home game, I think for most Blackburn fans as well, if you look at your home fixtures, you certainly look to try and take something from most of them. If not a win, you certainly look and think, a point would do there. So it's certainly a game I expect us to take something from. And we've got the players that are capable to go and do it. I know we can. We just need to get back to basics, I think, and I'd like to see us do that Saturday. But like you say, I think it's one bad run against another bad run. Your bad run at St Andrews, your bad run against Birmingham, and our terrible home form and our current form is, it's just who's going to break that duck first. I do fear, because, you say Blackburn are the team to break runs. Well, a lot of Blues fans say exactly the same thing about us. We are, anybody's on a winless run, a goal scoring run, whatever, you come to St Andrews, you'll get that, mate. Don't worry about it. And I think it was Wickham. Wickham hadn't won or something, and they came to our place and they beat us. So it was, it was bound to happen. So I think one of us is going to say he's going to see the run continue tomorrow.
I'm a superstitious fan by heart, James, and this game has just given me setting off so many things in my head, just all these things combining. I'm not confident at all.
No, neither.
I just couldn't believe how bad our record was, and it goes back into the Premier League days as well. It's quite shocking. I think there was a run of 6 losses at St Andrews in a row, straddling the Premier League and Championship as well, which is crazy. So, not a ground we like.
Certainly not. No, I think I remember a couple of them. I think we beat you 4-1. Was it last day of the season, 08 season? And then we beat you in, I think it was Christmas. It was a really cold game in the 09-10 season. I think Cameron Jerome got 2. Really cold night that night. So, I actually didn't realise how good our run against Blackburn was. But, thinking back, there was quite a few wins on the board there, isn't there? But, they balance out when that Gestead one almost sent us down. That game pretty much put us almost down. We were lucky to get out of that one. Horrendous day for Blues, that. Horrendous.
Well, if we look at the game in a bit more detail then, James, where can Blues hurt Rovers tomorrow? As I mentioned earlier, you've got some good experienced performers in your squad and in your team now. Who are the danger men going to be for Blues tomorrow?
Depends who plays. I think it really depends who he goes with tomorrow. I expect him to put a lot of his tried and trusted players in there, a lot of the experienced pros to come back in. So the first name I've got to reel off, obviously, is Lukas Jukovic. I think before going into this season, his goal and assist record in the last 2 seasons previous was outstanding. I think he'd scored like 30-something goals and 20-something assists in the last 2 seasons. So he's got a phenomenal record, and he really is, the guy that steps up and saves us every time. And I do expect him to go back with Lukas tomorrow. He's been playing Scott Hogan up front a lot of the time by himself. And he's looked lost. He really has. We've not been giving him the supply nor the support. And he's a very good, very, very good striker. Scott can play the lone role really well, willing runner in behind. But he's not been up to it recently. So I think he'll go back and go with the big target man up front. A few of the other names, I think John Terrell was really unlucky to be dropped. We got those 2 against Reading. He ran the game for us in that number 10. Really, and I think a lot of Championship fans know just how good John is on his day. But he's been hounded by injuries over the last couple of years, and we've actually managed to keep him pretty fit. So I've been surprised to see him out of the team. So he's another one. Again, definitely hurt Rovers. And the third one is Ivan Sanchez, who is new to the Championship this year. We brought him in from Elche, who got promoted to La Liga at the end of last season. But we nabbed him on a free transfer, and he's an outstanding player. He really is. He plays on the right-hand side, but predominantly left-footed, comes inside. He's very dangerous. You can't touch him, or, he either weaves in and out, and he can beat 4 or 5 players easily in a go, or he will win fouls for us. And obviously, if you've got Juki on the pitch, any set piece into Juki is going to be, nightmare for any defence. So he really is a really great player. And it summed him up. His goal against Cardiff a couple of weeks ago, where I think he picked the ball up in his own half and beat 4 or 5 and put it into the top corner. So certainly he's one to watch as well. But we've got plenty of good players. They just seem to not click at the minute, and I think that's down to a lack of consistency in the lineups as well.
Yeah, and you mentioned the change in formation that you've had through the season. You know, that's one thing we haven't really changed. Actually, we've stuck fairly religiously to a 4-3-3. So, with how you expect Karanka to approach the game tomorrow and play Nukovic, for example, what sort of formation would you play and what sort of style do you think?
It's going to be if I what he should go with or what he will go with. I suspect will be a 4-2-3-1, which is his tried and trusted system, which he had at Middlesbrough and Forest as well. He loves that number 10. I think he's been a bit frustrated because obviously we brought in Alan Helinovic he was a free transfer from leaving AC Milan in the summer. And he just started to find a bit of form, and then he pulled his groin at Forest a couple of weeks ago or a week ago. And now he's out the team. So I think he's a little bit frustrated that he can't play him in that 10. But I think if he's going to stick with that system, he'll play John in that number 10 position and probably look to play Duke as the lone forward and get crosses into him with Sanchez and Bella either side of him. But we've also seen us play a lot of a 5 at the back system, or a 3-4-3 or a 5-3-2, whatever you want to look at it. He's played that with 3 central midfielders and 2 strikers, or he's played it with 2 wing backs, 2 wingers and a striker. So he does like this 5 at the back system, but it's definitely more one where he plays it away from home, where we're looking to be a little bit more solid and catch teams on the break. I don't see him going that defensive against Blackburn tomorrow. I think he'll definitely look to try and take the game to Blackburn, which can be dangerous. You're very good on the break. Some really good technical players going forward. So I feel like it could be quite an open game, to be honest, looking at it.
And if there are any areas of weakness for Rovers to exploit tomorrow, where are we going to have some joy? We've all got injuries at the moment. Any key people out? Where can we hurt you?
Certainly, obviously, the defensive record at the minute is nothing short of appalling. Left back is a big issue. We have just recalled a young lad called Steve Seddon, who's a left back, who's been on loan at Portsmouth and AFC Wimbledon last couple of seasons. Very, very good player going forward. Defensively, we're not quite sure, but he was recalled the other day and we think he could feature this weekend. Christian Pedersen pulled up with an injury against Derby, and he has been nothing short of atrocious this season at left back. George Friend could fill in at left back, but I think most would prefer him to play a left centre-back role alongside Harley Dean. And again, that centre-back position is the other place where I would say, there's big issues. We've lost Mark Roberts through injury. Sometimes Mikel San Jose plays there, plays more of a ball-playing defender, but his pace lets him down massively. So it's about it's going to be a makeshift defence, really, and it's kind of who slots in where and who he wants to play, especially on that left side of defence, left back, left-sided centre-back. Could be a real big issue for us, and I can't quite remember who plays on the right-hand side for Rovers usually, but they could have a lot of fun out there tomorrow.
Well, the good news for you is Ryan Nyambe, who is our right back, who does like to get forward down that side, and Harvey Elliot plays on the right but likes to cut in more. Nyambe is a doubt for the game tomorrow with an injury, so we're also going to be makeshift in defence. If Nyambe and Ayala aren't fit, then we've only got 2 left backs and a centre back fit from our defence, so we'll also be makeshift.
Deary me. That's not. Yeah, it's not going to be particularly great then, is it? A lot of makeshift but again, could open the game up and certainly make for an interesting game.
That's right. I think we are, just with the recent form as well and some of the injuries we've had, I think we're just falling into this break that we're going to have now. It's the FA Cup next weekend, and ours is in doubt anyway because we've got Doncaster and they've had a COVID outbreak. So yeah. I'm actually hoping that we might get a 2-week break just so that we can get back on the training pitch and just kind of wipe the slate clean a little bit. So this is the part of the show, James, where I do like to just look at the links between the 2 clubs, particularly if there is a member of the Birmingham team who used to play for Rovers. And unless anyone in the comments can tell me someone who's playing, I can't find anyone. And I had this last week as well. I gave us the absolute kiss of death last time against Huddersfield because I went for a tedious link in Naby Sarr, who we were linked with in the summer, and lo and behold, he scored twice against us. So I'm not even going to go down that road. The path I'm going to go down, James, is we've got Harvey Elliot at the moment, 17 years old, who is really tearing it up for Rovers. And how he's 17, I don't know the maturity that lad's got and his touch and everything. I think the view amongst the majority of Rovers fans is this kid will play for Liverpool and probably play for England. You mentioned him earlier, Jude Bellingham. From what you saw, is this kid the real deal? Is he going to go all the way in his career like we think that Harvey Elliot might do as well? We certainly feel very lucky to have Elliot at Rovers at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. I've never seen a talent like Bellingham. We've seen through the last 10 years, we've seen Jack Butland come through. We've seen Nathan Redmond come through. We've seen Damari Gray, Jordan Much. We've seen a fair few good talents, should we say, come through the academy process at Birmingham and certainly have shone and gone on to great things. Nathan Redmond's appeared for England and has certainly established himself as a very good Premier League winger. Damari Gray certainly hit the heights quite quickly, but has kind of died off in the last couple of years, which has been a little bit surprising because he was a very good, very direct winger. Jack Butland, again, massive shame the way he sort of dropped off the last couple of years because he was tipped for Liverpool only sort of 2-3 years ago before his decline at Stoke. So we've seen all of these players come through and, certainly we knew that they were going to be good players, but nothing compared to what Bellingham can do. The kid's got the world at his feet. He came in at 16 and certainly showed no fear whatsoever. The ability that he possessed, everybody knew about it, but it was whether he could handle the pressures of playing in the Championship in a midfield where we were struggling, and whether he could handle it. And he more than handled it. He was basically like an unofficial captain for us. He certainly led the team in hard times and pulled us through and gave us that bit of quality from the midfield where he could make the difference in games. I remember Barnsley last year, we were 0-0 and he managed to nab the ball on the right-hand side and create the goal that won the game for Scott Hogan. And there's a couple of others where I think he's pulled us back into games against Leeds, and I think he certainly ran the game against Middlesbrough last season. There was 4 or 5 where I could picture, and he was that good. And like I say, the minute we watched him, we knew he'd be off in the summer. It was where he was going to go. It was a toss-up between Manchester United and Borussia Dortmund, and I think he chose Borussia Dortmund over United for the development path that Dortmund can offer. With Haaland and Sancho and Raya that they've got there. He saw that and thought, if I can follow Sancho's path rather, and then I can come to the Premier League in a couple of years' time and when I'm ready. And like I say, he's already made 4 or 5 Champions League appearances for Dortmund. He's made his England debut at 17. He was England under 21's youngest goal scorer and appearance maker a couple of months ago, before he got called up to the first team. And he's a regular in the Dortmund team now. And like I say, I've watched a bit of Harvey Elliot, not enough as I should have, to be honest, to compare. But certainly, the talents are there to see. Very comparable, 2 different players, 2 different styles, but certainly, it's that the only worry for Harvey Elliot whenever I've spoken to Liverpool fans was whether he could keep his feet on the ground, keep that attitude right, because that's what Bellingham had. He had the right attitude, the right mentality. He never got above himself. But certainly Harvey Elliot has shone this season and proven that already that he's probably too good for the Championship. And certainly Rovers have got a top talent on their hands for the rest of the season. And like I say, I would expect him to feature for Liverpool in the next 1 or 2 years, certainly.
Yeah, he should do. And I'm hoping that if we handle Elliot right, that, we can get in the front of the queue whenever Liverpool are looking to loan people out. Swansea had some joy last year with Ryan Brewster, didn't they? If we can get that type of signing coming Rovers' way and Klopp and Liverpool trust us, it's only going to benefit us. So, yeah, very lucky for a variety of reasons for us to have Harvey Elliot. So,
absolutely,
we're in the right geographical location as well. You got Man City, Man United and Liverpool all on our doorstep, really, to send their youngsters across. So, that's good for us.
You are in a hotbed, aren't you? Really, in football. There's a lot of top teams around you, and I know a lot of Blackburn fans probably won't thank me for saying this, but could even be Burnley as well. At the minute, they stable Premier League club is that what they are? Obviously they're always within the periphery of could they go down, could they not? One bad season and they certainly slip out. But at the minute, you've got Leeds, Burnley, United, Liverpool, City, Everton, any of those clubs really. And that's not, down to Blackburn as a club or a size. That's just simply due to circumstances, isn't it? At the minute, where they found themselves in the wrong division at the minute.
It is, and I just think it's you've got to use that loan market really smartly. Villa did it with Tammy Abraham, didn't they?
Yeah.
So if you can do it smart and get the right signing at the right point, it can work out for you really well. So no, it's good.
Absolutely.
So, James, we have reached the part of the show where I'm going to ask you for your predictions. So, Rovers fans watching, do hit us with your predictions as well. Let us know how you think the game's going to go and what your score prediction is. I will just say hello, though, to Stephen Mason and to Harry Walsh, who did say hello a little while back, so I wasn't ignoring you. And then Stephen followed it up with, yeah, of course, the David Dunn trick, the little faked Rabona, I think it was that he was going for, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, I watched his podcast. I think he did one with, was it Under the Cosh?
Yeah,
a while back, and I watched it the other week, and he hates it. He hates it being mentioned. He tried it against Villa of all teams as well in the derby. I think he's thankful we didn't lose that game because he'd have been hounded for that. But no, Dunny was a top talent. He was consistently injured with Blues. That was his problem. Steve Bruce's big signing that one season, spent a lot of money on him from Rovers, and we saw some great games out of Dunn, but certainly not the best. But I think we've got, you've got a few former Birmingham players in the current team. I think you've got Sam Gallagher and Amari Bell as well. I think is there, and again, Amari's another one that come through the youth academy and certainly looked like a good player. I was very surprised to see him go when we let him go. I think he went to Fleetwood. I think
it was Fleetwood,
yeah. He looked like a really top athletic left back. Plenty of pace. Good on the ball. I know Rovers fans from where I follow Jacob, and I know a few of you might know Jacob, and he's my good friend. I see a lot of his retweets and his comments about Amari. I think a lot are undecided. Am I right to say that? Some a bit, some like, some don't. He's a bit Marmite.
You're possibly being polite using the word undecided. I would say that Sam Gallagher and Amari Bell are probably the two most criticised players of our squad, actually, which is a shame because I think they're as much of the squad as any of the other players, and it's just not gone right for them. Particularly Gallagher, who's got the price tag with his name as well. It was $5 million we spent on him from Southampton, so it's a shame. I don't like to see any players dug out really, but it's just not worked out for either of them at Rovers so far.
I think Sam's. I think he certainly showed it when he was on loan with us. Real natural finisher, but I think he lacks a lot of consistency. He lacks maybe that intelligence in the final third to make the runs and to certainly find himself in those positions to score the goals. Like when I watch Armstrong, you can see his movements, incredibly intelligent. Whereas Gallagher, if he gets the ball in those areas, should finish, but it's getting himself into those positions where I think he struggled with, and he certainly did with us. His runs weren't particularly great, and he was probably used more of a target man in the end, which I'm sure he doesn't like being used as. But it's a shame, and like I say again for Amari, we only saw glimpses of him, but I can see in the comments someone said, "Do you want him back?" Do you know what? We'll take anyone at the minute. We've got no left backs pretty much, and the ones we have got are awful. So we'll take whatever we can get for now.
No, we'll keep Bell. I don't mind Bell too much. He's it's been tough for him, as I say, but he actually came on and did a good job in our last game. So we'll stick with him. Alexander Heyman's highlighted the other one. And under 23 Rovers. Oh
yeah, no, we got that. Sorry,
very funny there. So that's my cue to get on with these predictions.
Yes, no, for sure.
We're back, I think. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Yeah, can you hear me?
There we go. I think we got a slight time delay. That's my cue to get on with these predictions. I think we'll try and cope with it. So, James, how do you think this game's going to go? What's your score prediction? How do you think the game's going to go?
Oh, it's a tough one to call. It really is. Like I say, I don't want to back us at the minute. I really don't. Most fans would call me negative, but I'm quite pessimistic at the minute. And the way we're playing, you can usually judge off more performances than anything. How you think a team's going to go. If you're performing well, but the results aren't quite going, you can usually say, it's a bad run. We've been a bit unlucky. but we could probably pick it up. But with us, we're not even performing at the minute, and I just can't. I can't see us improving dramatically or drastically. I tried to combine the two there. I just can't see it at the minute. And while Blackburn aren't on a particularly great run, I think was it 1 win in 9? Did you say, or something like that? 1 win in 8? Is it?
In the last 10 games in total against Birmingham, yeah, it's 1 win and then 1 win in 14 at St Andrews.
I just can't. I can't see it. I can't see it other than a Blackburn at least picking something up anyway. I certainly don't see us beating you. That's to say the least. I think if we can take a draw from this game and try and be solid, then I'll certainly go for a 1-1. I think that's the best I'm going to hope for from this one, because I know we can hurt teams, but the way we're playing at the minute, I just don't. I don't see it at the minute. And Blackburn, if they turn it on, could really hurt us, and that's what I'm a bit wary of at the minute. So I'll go for a 1-1, and certainly won't be one for the football purists, I don't think.
Well, I think a draw as well. It's just got the feel of a game where I think defensively both of us are going to be struggling a little bit. So I think there will be some goals, whether it's 1-1 or 2-2. I'll make my mind up in a moment. I actually think Karanka and Mowbray would shake hands on a draw, actually, before the game.
Yeah, massively.
We're not in good form. I think we just want to get past this little run and get back on the training pitch and get past that FA Cup game. So I think it might affect the game. I could see it, if it's like 20 minutes to go and it is 1-1 or whatever, I could just see the game petering out maybe. Typical kind of post-New Year's Day game in that sense. And just with our bloody record at St Andrews, just when I was looking at that, there is just something about Birmingham City that we don't like as on the football pitch, that is. So I'm a superstitious fan, and yeah,
you got to be. Yeah.
So I'm going to say, with the defences,
I was going to say, it can't be 2-2. There's no way we're scoring 2 goals. Absolutely no chance. Can't go with that. It's just not going to happen.
I'll be guided by you. I think because the game might peter out a little bit, I'm going to say 1-1. I just think it'll be let's get out of St Andrews and get back on the training pitch. So I'm going to say 1-1. I'm not too confident about this one, just with all of the variables at play. We have had a few predictions come in. So Sean Hooper, you have gone to Happy New Year to all Rovers fans. I'm going a boring 0-0. So is that your New Year gift to us, Sean? A boring 0-0. So hopefully not. Alexander Haben has gone for 2-2 or similar with suspect defences. Yep, I can see your logic in that one, Alexander. And if there are any other Rovers fans watching, please squeeze in your prediction very quickly, as we'll be ending the stream in about 5 minutes. So James, that's it. That's the end of the stream. Thank you for giving us your insight on Birmingham. As I say, some of that off-field stuff I just noticed had just calmed down a little bit. So interested that it's not completely calmed down. Probably contained is the right word. Probably a bit like Rovers, actually, isn't it? We're contained at the moment with our ownership. Well, yeah, I was going to say, considering how the Venky's got off, we're certainly in the early 2010s, that time, a lot of uncertainty at the club and a lot of unrest. They've certainly managed to at least get you out of the limelight and certainly stop making a fool of themselves, haven't they? Really. So there's that to be thankful for. I guess I certainly would change ownerships with you now at this current moment in time. So if you ever want to swap owners, I'll certainly take that from you. Well, that's it. I've always maintained Venky's created this problem, but to be fair to them, they keep putting the money in and trying to get us out of this problem. So, we've got to kind of get over ourselves a little bit sometimes, haven't we? I think the only positive is, like you say, they did make mistakes, but they learned from them. I think they are learning from them. Yeah. Not what I can say for ours. So we've had a few more predictions come in. Ollie James, who is going with his now legendary and trademarked Kaminsky, but 4-4 Kaminsky man of the match. So 4-4 is not out of the question. Michael Pearson has gone 1-0 Rovers. Your man Jacob has gone 7-4 Rovers, and JJ to get a better haircut, so you can go and have that out with him after this, James. I certainly will. I'll be on the phone to him in about 5 minutes. He knows what's coming. Well, as he's publicly hung you out to dry there, I'll tell everyone that Jacob wimped out being my Birmingham fan today because he didn't want to cross the divide and be a Birmingham fan. So there you go. As he's
He loves
rinsing
it,
you. That's it. If he's
loves
rinsing you live on the show, then I'll get you his own back there. So there you go.
It's fine because we've got a group chat with some Blues fans in, so I'm going to go straight to that in a second, and I'm going to hang him out to dry on that. So I'll get my own back.
Oh, Jacob, sorry, mate. Brandon Price has gone 0-0 or 1-0 Birmingham. Warren Selby 2-1 Birmingham. Steve Hayworth has made an interesting comment here. Bring Maguire, but I can never say his name, back off loan as cover for our injury-prone defence. Charlie Mulgrew's the other one who I really think we should be looking at bringing back, and we'll probably cover that on the pre-stream tomorrow. And then Gaz Israel has gone 2-0 Blackburn. We'll paper over the cracks and give Mowbray peace for another week. So there you go, James. That's the sentiment within our fan base at the moment with regards to Mr. Mowbray. So we will end the stream there, guys. Thanks, James, for joining us on New Year's Day and giving up your time like that. Thanks, Rovers fans, for all of your comments and interactions tonight. As I say, we really love doing these live streams, and I really do love interacting with the other fans. Oh, I've missed Kevin Bradshaw's prediction here. Sorry, Kevin. He's taking off his Rovers jinxing and going 3-1 Rovers. There we go. So we'll finish on...
A lot of positivity towards Blues. I really appreciate it, guys. Thanks very much.
There we go. And then, Dick Harrington's gone, if Derby can do it, so can we. 4-0 Rovers. So, yeah, I think it's a game you can see from the comments, James, that we're not too confident about. I'm certainly superstitious. I'm predicting a draw. But no, thank you, Rovers fans, for joining us. Thanks, James, for joining us. A reminder to everyone that we are sponsored by sixyardsout.com, which we will finish the show with in a moment. Please follow us on Twitter. It is Rovers_chat on Twitter. And please hit that subscribe button on our YouTube channel to stay up to date with all of our content. So, James, have a good rest of your evening, and we will leave everyone with our sponsor message from sixyardsout.com. See you later, and Happy New Year.
Thanks, guys.
The Rovers Chat YouTube channel is proudly sponsored by sixyardsout.com. They've got retro football from every era with mugs, phone cases and much more. They also have plenty of Rovers goods, including apparel with the famous 94-95 season and this season's kit. Check them out using the link in the description below.